This is the story of Hansel and Gretel. Hansel and Gretel are brother and sister who lived in a small house with their father the woodcutter and stepmother. Their house was at the edge of the forest, far away from all others. One evening, the family had nothing to eat but a few crusts of bread. Hansel and Gretel went to bed feeling hungry. As they lay there, they heard their stepmother and father talking. "There are too many mouths to feed. Early tomorrow morning we will take the children out into the deepest part of the woods. There we will light a fire for them and give them one more piece of bread. We will go about our work and leave them alone. They will not find their way home again, and we shall be rid of them." "Never!" cried the father. "Well, I am not going to starve. The children are going, and that's that." Gretel began to cry. "Don't worry, I'll think of something." "I promise," said Hansel. The next morning, Hansel and Gretel's stepmother woke the children at daybreak. "Get up," she ordered. "We're going to the woods to chop wood." She gave Hansel and Gretel a crust of bread each for their lunch. As they walked deep into the woods, Hansel broke his bread into tiny pieces in his pocket. As they walked along, he secretly dropped a trail of crumbs on the ground. Once they reached deep into the woods, Hansel and Gretel's father built them a fire. "Your stepmother and I are going to chop wood now. We'll return for you at sunset." After a while, the children shared Gretel's bread, and they curled up at the foot of a tree and fell asleep. When Hansel and Gretel woke up, it was dark and the fire had gone out. "I want to go home," Gretel whimpered. "Don't worry," said Hansel. "We'll just follow the trail of breadcrumbs I left." But the breadcrumbs were gone. The forest birds had eaten them all up. "We'll wait till morning. When it's light, we'll find our way home." The next morning, the children were woken by the sound of birdsong. In the tree above them, a white bird flapped its wings as if to beckon them. "Look, maybe that bird will lead us home." But the white bird led them deeper into the woods, to a little house made of gingerbread and sweets. The roof was made of coloured cookies. The windows were framed with candy canes, and the garden was filled with colourful lollipops. Suddenly, the door opened, and a croaky voice come from inside. "Nibble, nibble, like a mouse, who is nibbling at my house?" An old woman hobbled out, leaning on a crooked stick. "I can't see very well. Who are you?" she asked. "Just two hungry children," Hansel replied. "Ah," said the old woman, "well, you better come inside and I will make you a proper meal." The old woman placed a plate before Hansel and Gretel, piled high with delicious pancakes. They ate and ate until they were ready to burst. Then she showed them to two little beds. Hansel and Gretel snuggled down under the soft blankets and fell asleep. But Hansel and Gretel didn't know that the kind old woman was really a wicked witch. As she watched them sleep, she cackled, "I'll soon fatten these two up, then they'll make a proper meal for me." The following morning, the witch dragged Hansel from his bed and threw him into a cage. Then she made Gretel cook her brother a big breakfast. "Your brother is too skinny," the witch told Gretel. "I'll keep him locked up until he's nice and plump, and then I'll eat him up." Over the next few days, Hansel ate as much food as he could, and every morning the witch made him stick out his finger so she could feel whether he was fat enough to eat. But Hansel was clever. He knew the old witch could hardly see, so he stuck a chicken bone through the cage instead. "Still too scrawny," the witch would say. One day the witch grew tired of waiting. "Whether he be fatter or thinner, I'll have Hansel for my dinner," she crowed. "Light the oven," the witch ordered Gretel. "Now crawl inside and see whether it is hot enough." Gretel knew the witch was planning to cook her as well, so she decided to trick the witch. "The oven's much too small for me," she said. "Even I could fit inside that oven. Look!" Sticking her head inside, the witch let out a big yow as Gretel pushed her into the oven and slammed the door shut. Gretel freed Hansel from his cage. They danced happily around the kitchen. "We're safe, we're safe," they sang. When the children looked around at the witch's house, they found chests crammed with gold and sparkling jewels. They filled their pockets before they set off for home. Back in the woods, the white bird beckoned to them again. This time it led them straight home, where the delighted father greeted them with hugs and kisses. He told them that their cruel stepmother had died, so they had nothing to fear. Hansel and Gretel showed him the treasure they had found. "We'll never go hungry again," he said. And they all lived happily ever after, and the white bird sat on the rooftop and sang for them every day.